Commissioner Randall, would you lead us in the pledge? Please rise.
Dear and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening for this blessed time of year when we celebrate the birth of your Son. And we also thank you for this final opportunity in 2016 to come together as a community and to exercise the freedom of self-governing. And we ask you to be with these commissioners this evening as they consider and discuss business of the city of Aztec. Ask you to give them wisdom and judgment, and be with them as they hopefully make the right decisions to move this city forward into the next year. We'd ask you to bless all of our troops, both here and abroad, that have fought and many have died to buy these precious freedoms for us. Once again, we just thank you so much for this blessed time of year, Lord. Just ask you to be with us. All those that are traveling, we ask for safe travel. And just be with these commissioners this evening and give them wisdom and judgment. We ask all these things in the precious name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Let her go.
I know, right?
All jurors, you want
Okay.
Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Burbidge.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sykes.
Here.
Commissioner Ross.
Here.
Commissioner Randall.
Here.
Commissioner McClure.
Here.
All present.
All right, thank you. Next is the agenda approval. If there are any items on this evening's agenda that need to be pulled from consideration, now would be the time to do so. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve this evening's agenda as given.
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
I move to approve the agenda as given.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, next we'll move into citizen recognition. Mr. Wright?
Thanks, Mayor. We do have citizen recognition tonight. We want to recognize our Aztec Sparkles Lighting Contest winners for this year. I know that we have a couple people here that were part of our winners, and that's very exciting. Let me just go through the list here. First place was Abode Furnishings. Second place was T. Ryan Lane. Third place, Aztec Feed and Supply. And we had 2 honorable mentions this year for Aztec Restaurant and Crane Insurance. Ms. Bixler and Mr. Lane. Here we go. So Ms. Bixler's here with Abode Furnishings, and Mr. Lane is here for T. Ryan Lane. Kind of has to be here. It's got his name in it. We're very excited about these guys. The lighting contest is phenomenal and a wonderful project for the city to be able to appreciate the holiday season. We had 2 judges from outside the area that were very excited to be included in the process, and I think they did a really good job. Having 5 winners is amazing. One of our winners also, one of the people that placed True Holiday Spirit, donated their utility credit to 2 other businesses. I think that's incredible. And so
cool.
it was really great. And for the 2 individuals that are here, Ms. Bixler has Abode. This is their first year in that facility. And actually for the second business, Mr. Lane has Vanilla Moose. So first time businesses there in those locations, and then they happen to be winners. So what a great way to join into the local Aztec economy and be great contributors. We appreciate it. Just driving past last night, I know our kids were still very excited again to point out how amazing it looks over at Abode, and then to come downtown and see the wonderful lights. So we appreciate all of our participants. We're excited about the project, or about the contest, and hope that next year we'll be able to do it again. That's our citizens.
Thank
Yes,
you
thank you
for
very much,
lighting
guys.
up and for being part of this.
Yes,
We
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Okay. All right, next then we'll move into employee recognition.
Thanks, Mayor. We do have a couple recognitions that I would like to do on this. And the first recognition I would like to point out, we didn't get to do this at the last meeting, the annual Eco Food Drive contest. It turns into a contest with the local governments, has been something that we take a lot of fun times with and a lot of pride in. City of Aztec seems to win this often, and that's something that we enjoy, but it's not it's not the winning that makes it so cool. It's the fact that we're able to provide food to Echo to distribute throughout San Juan County. One of the best parts about this year's competition is the city of Farmington participated for the first time this year, and so we had all of our entities participated. San Juan County came in with 13.14 pounds per employee, City of Farmington 3.92, City of Bloomfield 9.44 pounds per employee, and the City of Aztec came in donating 1,591 pounds at 19.64 pounds per employee. So it's great for our plaque. It's great to have Mr. Potato Head, but it's the best part is, as Echo says, helping neighbors in need, and that's exactly what our community has done once again. We're able to collect food at the library, at the senior center, at City Hall, at the animal shelter, and we take that food to Echo. They weigh it every year. Chief does a great job in delivering that food. Also, Sherry Goulet in the police department lined up 50 turkeys for this food drive as well. So city employees contributed money, and we went and bought turkeys. So we know that's 50 families that get a turkey during the holiday season. And as Commissioner McClure's pointed out, throughout the year, Echo does an amazing job in providing for those that have a need, and we're excited to participate at this one time during the year. So it's great for everyone that participated and helped out in this process. Congratulations, team, and congratulations to the community. That's awesome.
So this is something that not just city employees, though, members from the community also donate.
Sometimes we have...
Some of those other locations.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and it's open for anyone throughout the year to be able to come in and provide to Echo. And we would like to see it as something that's not just a competition during the holiday season when we do this food drive, but for people to raise awareness so that we're constantly giving back to anytime we can to Echo to keep it flourishing throughout the year. The total collected during the competition was 14,449 pounds, and on average, 8.93 pounds per employee for 1,600 employees throughout the organization. So it was a fantastic job. The next area, Mayor, at our recent Employee Association party, we gave out performance awards for the year, and I'm not sure which employees are here from those departments, but I do want to point that out so that everyone can enjoy. The Department of the Year this year was our Parks and Recreation Department. I know Steve Mueller's here.
Yeah.
There's Charles. I don't think a lot of people can argue that our parks look better than any parks throughout the state of New Mexico, and it doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of hard work to make those parks look so good. It takes a lot of money to upfit those parks, and it's a heck of a process for us to deliver year in and year out with quality parks and rec services. It's one of those services that a lot of people will take for granted, and then a lot of people don't take it for granted. So it was nice to be able to recognize our Parks Department. That includes our buildings, that includes our grounds on the outside, and these guys take really good care of just our parks in general and of all these buildings when you come in and out. It's a blessing to have people that take care of you, and it's a blessing to have our parks be an amazing place for people to go out. And we have tennis courts, we have basketball courts, we have volleyball courts, we have horseshoe pits, we have green space, we have grills, we have picnic tables and larger pavilions where we have festivals and we have events. And the best part is we have green grass to play kickball on, to play football on, to hit a baseball and a softball. And that's a blessing. Lots of people don't have those things, and there's a struggle to keep parks looking good year in and year out, but not for our guys. And Charles is new, so I don't know how much he's been doing, but he's been here long enough to do some work. And he showed up tonight to be recognized, so we appreciate that.
I'll say, other than Steve, Charles, are you the only parks person here? Well, way to represent, right? Do what? The girls are they're hiding in the hall.
You see? Now, there we go.
Good job.
All part of the team to make everything happen, and we appreciate our Parks and Rec department very much. And following that, Mayor, I have one more recognition. Our Employee of the Year. Our Employee of the Year is a difficult designation for us to hand out because we have some exceptional employees, including Charles. And when it comes down to it, we look at the person that's performing at a higher level, the person that's doing their their job day in and day out, and that has a passion that's unparalleled by any. Our Employee of the Year is Tina Roper, and I think everyone knows that. Tina's definitely a person that passion is unparalleled, especially for what she does. Most days she doesn't like people that stand upright anywhere close to the amount as she likes her animals, and that's a beautiful thing about Tina. When it comes to animal welfare and taking care of our community, Tina's a nonstop public servant that serves day in and day out. I'm not sure of days that Tina takes off from this public service. Some of us like to take days off, but Tina, when it comes to an animal in need or a person that has an animal, Tina serves all the time. So for anyone that knows her, Gary's sitting close to her. If you don't know her well enough, you'll know her now because you might get a puppy. Matter of fact, hook him up with something. Gary definitely needs some animal. So if we've got something interesting, let him take it back. But that's the passion, that's the energy that Tina brings, and it's one of those fun things that we like to be able to promote throughout our community that, yeah, we can take care of our parks and we can take care of our utilities, but we also take care of our animals and our people with our animals. If you have a question, you can always ask Tina because she has experience and she has knowledge, and she'll impart some of that wisdom if she likes you and help you out. She actually helps people she doesn't like often just because she really cares about animals. So for this year, for the level of service, and to be honest with you, for the time that I've known Tina, she is amazing. She's an awesome person and equally an amazing part of this team. And so we appreciate it. We gave her a reward. We expected she'd be carrying it around all the time, and she's already left it wherever it's at.
I'm waiting for the little rotating.
Right. I thought maybe it was a doorstopper or something. So we're proud. We're proud of our employees. We're proud of Tina. We're proud of our Parks and Recreation Department. And we wanted to take that time today for those that weren't part of our employee appreciation dinner to be able to appreciate those guys. So thank you so much, and thanks for being here tonight, guys. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. Thank you.
That is all I have, Mayor.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I have several employee recognitions,
Okay.
actually. I would like to recognize Mr. Ray, Mr. Josh Ray, Kathy Lamb, Stephen Saavedra, and Bill Watson for all the work that they put in the last few weeks to make sure. I know I shared with you guys that the DOT was trying to pull the money from our arterial, saying that we weren't going to be ready, and this team of people, along with the MPO Technical Committee and the Policy Committee, and DOT, BLM, they worked with BLM, they worked with the EPA, they worked with, who am I forgetting?
Anybody that would listen.
Anybody that would. Anyway, through all their hard work, the DOT decided to keep our arterial on the STIP, which is the State Transportation Improvement Plan, and so everything should move forward as scheduled. So thank you very much for all the work that everybody did on that to keep that moving forward. They put in a lot of phone hours, a lot of meetings, a lot of legwork. So
Thank you, guys.
anyway,
Okay.
that's it. Thank you.
Any other employee recognition before we move on? No? Okay. All right, then moving on, we'll move to the consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda will be voted on with one motion. If there are any items that do not meet the approval of all commissioners, a commissioner may request that the item be heard under items from the consent agenda. I would like to pull item F for further discussion.
And Madam Mayor, I'd
Yes.
like to pull item C.
Okay, so C and F. Okay, hearing no others, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
move to approve the consent agenda with the exceptions of items C and F.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items C and F. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, items from the consent agenda. Item C, which is travel requests. Commissioner McClure.
I'm just wondering this, and I don't know who to address this to. All of these travel requests are anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks old and already happened. So according to our resolution 2003-603, they're supposed to come to us before they happen. I'm just wondering what happened, because it's across all the departments. Well, not all of them, but across like 5 departments. And my understanding is it has to come to commission beforehand. So I don't know who to address this to.
Mayor, I can answer on these items. So yes, per our policy, we would have all travel that would be presented to commission before that travel occurs. Some travel that would be scheduled not in advance would still be presented to commission so that you're aware of those travel. For example, on the floodplain management, that's something where our director was going to take the test, and in order to take the test at that time, had to go then or wait until, I believe, May would be the next time. So in order to have that individual be a floodplain manager, that's the timing there. With the law enforcement conference and the managers conference, those should have been presented beforehand. Those we have dates on. If we're going to be able to attend those, we should have those presented before. The meetings with Public Works, NMDOT, Santa Fe, Wilson and Company, AECom, those all were related back to the arterial route and were not regularly scheduled meetings. So for them to happen, they're more spur-of-the-moment meetings that would need to be presented after if it didn't happen before a commission meeting.
Is it possible that we can have a little bit of effort put towards getting more of these? I realize the meetings for the arterial route and stuff, but then we can get a little more effort to getting some of these in advance.
Yes, ma'am. We've talked about this and actually gone over it with our staff, including myself, talking about making sure we get everything planned beforehand.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like to entertain a motion?
You want to wait and talk about yours and then do it all
Talk
together?
about the other one? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then that brings us to item F. This is RFP 2008-208, Wilson and Company Engineering Services Agreement for Aztec Arterial Phase 2. I'm pulling this item because there was a question. Is Mr. Madrid here this evening? Okay, thank you. There was a question concerning an RFP that was already issued and awarded for geotechnical services for the arterial route. Mr. Ray, would you like to address that topic, please?
Yes, ma'am. So Mr. Madrid is actually representing GeoMat, and GeoMat is the city of Aztec went through an RFP process to select someone that we would like to have geotechnical services for our projects. So in that RFP process, our goal was to streamline our geotechnical services so that on all major projects listed in that RFP that we would go to GeoMat for these services. And so that's what we do now. So we went through that process, we selected GeoMat, and so on the projects moving forward, we contact them, we already have a rate structure laid out, we work with them, and we get our projects completed. So on this project, there's actually a couple things in play. The first part is that this item presented to commission is an amendment to Wilson and Company for a cost change order for them. As part of our RFP for the arterial, which I believe it began in 2008, we RFP'd with Wilson and Company, or we selected them for the project. We don't control their subs. So for those projects, we don't control their subcontractors. We only selected them.
And they
have
do
that.
the design and engineering of the route.
Correct. So they're working on the arterial project. They are the design engineers for the arterial project. So for the phases that have started already on the arterial, Terracon has been doing the work with Wilson and Company at this point. So for this additional project, Wilson and Company continues to work with Terracon, and they're requesting an amendment to the City of Aztec contract with Wilson for that pay item.
Does that answer your questions on what's going on?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily?
No.
Okay.
It's our understanding from the RFP that the city was going to select a geotech and testing firm to perform services on all projects for 4 years.
And it's
This
all...
project was specifically listed as a project that would be coming.
Right. And parts of the arterial route, we are doing in-house. And so if it's a city lead piece of the project, then that's where we would be contacting you if we needed those geotechnical services. But for the design and engineering piece, where we have contracted with Wilson, is that even if a job we had with you, you needed to go hire a sub, we wouldn't dictate to you who you hired as that sub. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, but I think the point is that the project was listed as a project that was going to happen in the future.
Gotcha.
The project was specifically listed, and then the RFP states several places that on all projects.
On all projects. And again, I don't have that in front of me, so I'm,
Mayor, and Mr. Madrid is correct, in fact, that the East Arterial Section 2 is listed specifically on our agreement with GeoMat. However, looking at the items that we're talking about here, again, it is part of an existing agreement with Wilson and Company, and so it's, as it's listed, it's geotechnical services which are contracted directly by the city, and this is not contracted directly by the city. I think you explained it well, and I still understand the confusion, and this is no way, shape, form, or fashion any kind of negative comment towards GeoMat, because you guys are great. But it's just the way that it's not ours to select on this project.
For those parts contracted through Wilson and Company?
Correct, yes,
But
ma'am.
the part that the city has, is that why it was listed on the list, the arterial route, because there are projects that the city leads, like you were saying? And that's why it appeared on the list?
right, utility
Yes, ma'am.
installation, things
Yes,
like that
ma'am.
would be city lead. And for geotechnical work there, GeoMat would be the go-to.
Yes, those are all correct.
Any questions from commission? No. On this item? Okay. Do you have any other questions for clarification? I know it's not what you wanted to hear. I understand that.
But this is a city-led project.
Do you want to address?
Correct, yes, it is definitely city-led project. We are the lead agency on the arterial project.
Okay. All right. Okay. If there are no further questions, then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
move to approve Wilson and Company request for,
Nothing.
move to approve Wilson and Company request for approval of engineering agreement for arterial phase 2.
What about the travel requests?
Oh,
I'm
and-
sorry?
Oh, we're.
Are we doing both
oh, sorry.
CNF at the same time?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's what I thought.
we do need to.
Oh, so do I need to read them both or just?
Carla, do you want them both read? Item C and item F.
Okay, I'll amend my motion,
Okay.
Madam Mayor. Move to approve item C and item F from the consent agenda.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve items C and items F from the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Next, we move into citizens' input. If there is anyone here this evening who would like to address the commission on items not listed on the agenda, then now would be the chance to do so. You do have a 3-minute maximum, and we do need you to sign up.
I didn't expect the group to be so big, so I was a lot more confident before I walked in.
Thank you.
Yes, do I need to
Ms.
state my name
McClellan,
first?
do you need her to state her address and all that? No? Okay. I'll since you signed up.
Oh, thank you. What I wanted to, I guess, address the commission about today was, as I started coming to the commission meetings, basically it was the golf course that brought me to the commission meetings. And even though the golf course is a moot point, that's not what I'm here to talk about tonight, but I think what the golf course brought to light for me is more of the issue that I have. With how we got to the point that we're at with the golf course, I find more disconcerting than the golf course itself. And I think that's what I want to address the commission. At the last meeting, you guys had 5 plans brought to your attention, and those plans were given to you just maybe a few days before. And as we sat here, Madam Mayor, you had asked the commission if they had any questions, and nobody had any questions. And as I started thinking about it more and more, and it started bothering me, like once it was brought up to, hey, will you guys discuss it, then you guys did start discussing it going on, but me as a citizen here, reading those 5 plans, I had a multitude of questions over every single one of them. And whether you're for the golf course or whether you're not for the golf course, how we got to the point with the golf course should be a concern for everyone. The lack of accountability completely overall, with things brought up at, at most we may lose $3,000 to here we are $200,000 in the hole, especially when our city is cutting budgets the way they have. I guess my biggest thing is, as I look through what a commissioner does, as I look through what a city manager does, as I went through all of the City of Aztec's organizational chart and kind of try to figure out who's in charge of what and where's it supposed to come to, I didn't come to all the meetings, but at some point, there needs to be more questions from you all so that we don't end up where we're at today. Too many wrong numbers. Business is black and white. Numbers are numbers. They're very easy to understand. And how we've gone through this past year of misinformation is baffling to me. That's what concerns me. So as a business owner, as a citizen, as somebody who is just now getting into the political realm, I ask that you question more of what's presented in front of you, because we out here have so many questions about what's going on, and then we see the outcome, and I don't know. I don't know how to end that. But do you see what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm coming from? I know you guys can't address me back, right? Is that
Not at all.
That's the thing? But I wanted to let you know that that's how I felt from my seat here. There needs to be accountability, and I would like to see that accountability taken. I would like to see people held accountable for wrong numbers, and I would like to see my commission question more before we make decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. So, without addressing specifically, I will make this statement. We as commissioners are citizens just like everyone else. And a lot of times, if you're confused or don't know what's going on and have questions, pick up the phone. I've yet to receive a phone call from folks asking questions. We're humans like everyone else in the room, and yet we don't get engaged in conversation from you either when you have questions, and we don't know most of the time when all of you have questions. Well, our ESP doesn't work like that, okay? And so it's as much a responsibility of our citizens to ask of our leaders, what's going on? Have a conversation with me. Hey, why don't you come and can we go sit down in the park or have a glass of tea and let's have a conversation about this, instead of, and I'm sorry, but I have to present the other side of this, instead of coming to a public meeting in a mob and yelling at us. We want that dialogue from you too, and it's very hard for us to go out to hundreds and thousands of people in the community and get that message across. If you have a question, call us and actually have a conversation with us. So,
And Madam Mayor,
Yes.
can I say also that just because the questions don't happen in a public forum doesn't mean that the questions aren't being asked.
so, okay,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
I absolutely love what you just said, and it would be helpful if all the commissioners listed the phone number that they could be called on from the Aztec City website, because there's only one number listed.
Well, and even if you don't, though, you can leave a message and ask us to call. I mean,
I know, but if you had something you wanted to call someone, you want to be able to call and I think all the other cities do that.
And at one point, I think all of them were. I don't know at what point some of them weren't, but
So that's something we can check on.
yeah.
If commissioners want their numbers listed, then that's something we can. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And moving along. Business items. Business item A, customer generation, CG agreement between City of Aztec and Aztec Municipal School District. And this is for McCoy Elementary. Mr. Ray. Oh, Mr. George, sorry.
I was going to talk on his way up. He got there so quickly.
Madam Mayor, Commission, before you is an agreement with the Aztec School District. They are asking to put a 149 kW solar field at McCoy Elementary. This agreement is identical to the agreement we have with them previously for the administration building. Both parties understand that we are in the middle of a cost of service study, and that this agreement, in part or in whole, could be totally terminated once that the cost of service study is done and the new rates for CG are submitted to the commission for approval. I stand for questions.
I have none.
None?
The school district does have 2 representatives here.
Okay.
If they have anything they may want to say.
Did you want to address the commission?
Only if you have questions.
No?
Madam Mayor, I have one question.
Okay.
Just what, do we have any update on when we anticipate the rate study to be done?
Well, we're hoping the new rate structure will go into effect July 1, 2017. Currently, we're still on schedule for that.
Okay.
But between now and then, who knows what could hold it up.
Okay.
Yeah. But the agreement does give them time that when we know we're going to change anything, that we'll get with them and let them know
And
where we're going.
that's in the agreement, that
That
there
is
will
in
be
the
a
agreement,
change, and
yes.
so the agreement will have to change, so.
Thank you.
Okay. No further questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
move to approve the interconnection and parallel operation of customer generation agreement between the City of Aztec and the Aztec Municipal School District for 901 McCoy Avenue, McCoy Elementary School.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we need to call a roll, Carla? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming this evening. Thank you. Okay, next item B, Aztec Municipal Golf Course Operations Contract. Mr. Ray?
Mayor, as presented in our workshop, we have 2 items that are presented in front of the commission tonight. Item B is the Aztec Municipal Golf Course Operations Agreement, and item C is the termination of Aztec Municipal Golf Course operations. Item B, which is before you now, is an agreement between the City of Aztec and Randy Hodge, doing business as Ruby's in the Valley, to operate Aztec Municipal Golf Course. As you'll see from the staff summary, and I provided a new staff summary that's on page 2, created maybe a cleaner breakdown of those costs and potential revenue sharing numbers, and an annual net expense for the city. I'm not sure if there's anything else to add to that, Mayor, if you have any questions.
All right, other questions from commission?
About this agreement?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I have a few. Number one, and I just want to, as long as we're talking about really getting out and communicating, really getting everything straight on this. Number one, I already talked to Mr. Thrower right before the meeting, and he keeps referencing the golf cart agreement dated March 3rd, 2015, when there were 2 of them. 2 sales contracts, one March 3rd and one March 30th, and that needs to be put in there. I understand that,
Well, I'm sorry, clarify, what do you mean that needs to be put in there?
well, it was only one contract, keeps saying dated March 3rd, sales contract for the golf cart leases. There was 2 different sales contracts.
Okay, what are you asking that be put into, though? The staff summary?
No, the proposed operate, if I may.
Yes.
Commissioner McClure, the agreement with Mr. Hodge, I had referenced just for purposes of the agreement, so the identification was clear, that the Yamaha motor conditional sale contract, March 3rd, 2015. And as Commissioner points out, there were actually 2. There was
Okay.
one on the 30th for some additional equipment, which I didn't pick up. I thought that was just an exhibit. So
Okay.
it should say dated March 3rd, 2015, and dated March 30th.
And what page are you on, Mr.
I'm on
Reed?
page 2 under paragraph 5, sub A, at the bottom of the paragraph.
As well as page 2, section 4, sub 2.
Section 4?
4,
Right,
2.
it's referenced also in 4,
Okay,
sub
gotcha.
2. And again, I was just identifying that specific agreement.
Okay.
But as the Commissioner points out, there were actually 2. So that needs to be added in.
So the totals don't change?
And it's also
just in
referenced again
separate
on page,
contracts?
again on page 3, in paragraph C, and then there's also an additional typo there. There's an additional number that I didn't catch on the typos there on page 3.
You mean it's not year
2000?
20,000?
It's not your 20,156.
We're going on the Enterprise to go.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Star Trek, that baby.
Yeah, and it's also just above there in B.
Okay.
It appears several places just identifying that contract.
Okay, thank you. I just,
Madam Mayor, the numbers don't change, it's just that we need to add that date. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
that there's reference to 2 contracts with
Yeah.
those
Yeah,
dates.
all the golf carts weren't on one. There were some
Correct.
additional ones on the other one.
Okay, thank you.
And, Madam Mayor, if I may, I had talked to Mr. Thrower about this because the way I read it, but he says that that's not the way it's meant. On this operating agreement that was presented to commission under revenues and disbursements, so that would be, I'm not sure the page that.
Page
Larry
2,
said.
4,
Except for we're looking on the
Paragraph 4.
iPad. Paragraph 4. The wording, and this is regarding the Yamaha Motor Corporation, under the conditional sales agreement with the city dated blah, blah, and any renewal thereof. I kind of had a problem with any renewal thereof because we know that this ends in approximately 3 years and 2.5 months or 3 months. And I read that as it could be renewed at the end of that.
That, what could be renewed? The golf cart agreement?
The golf cart agreement, because in any renewal thereof for golf carts for use at the AMGC as set forth in paragraph 5, which basically says the same thing.
So technically, there's really no renewal of that contract, though. Once it's complete, it's complete?
Well, that was my understanding. When we had the workshop, I know Mr. Hodge said at the end of that, next, is he here? No? Oh, there you are. Hi, Randy. He had told us in the workshop that we had about this, that when our agreement was up in 3 years and a couple of months, that we wouldn't have those payments to the golf carts anymore. But that's not spelled out in this contract, and I think just for clarification, it really needs to be spelled out.
Because the way I read it, we're responsible for the payments anyway, so the only way that it would matter is if the city renewed the contract.
That's right, I know, and I think it needs to be spelled out, because you're reading it one way, and I kind of read it another.
Yes, Madam Mayor, if I may, as I explained to Commissioner McClure, since we have a possibility for 2 renewals and for a possible 8-year total contract, and the renewals are completely based upon mutual agreement of the parties, the only party that could renew the golf cart lease would be the city. If the city decides not to renew after the initial 3 years, then there'd be nobody to renew the golf cart lease. But I just put that in there because we had 8 years of possible contract term and approximately 3 years left of golf cart lease. And again, my interpretation and the way I drafted it was that the only party that can renew the lease would be the city, and that would have to be part of a second term renewal, and those terms are a mutual agreement of the parties. So I don't think that there's any enforceability on the part of the contractor to say you have to renew the lease. But that's on the table. I didn't have any concrete terms in the drafting about what would happen at the end of the 3-year golf cart lease, the mechanics of what would happen by the contractor. So it's purely a time thing. I put it in there to cover the possibility of the 2 renewals. If we had a specific agreement that was different than that, the terms of which were provided, then I could certainly change that to be consistent with that agreement. But my understanding was that that was something that Mr. Hodge indicated could happen at the end of the initial 3-year term. I didn't understand that that was a contractual term.
Any other questions on it?
On this proposed agreement?
On this
On
item?
this topic of the any renewal thereof.
No. If our city lawyer doesn't think that it actually means that we have to renew for another 5 years, then I'm good with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do have more
Yeah,
questions.
I know you do. I see your list over there.
Will it still be called the Aztec Municipal Golf Course? That's not in there at all.
Randy's nodding his head yes.
Again, I think, and I hate to be a nitpicker, but at this point, we have to be nitpickers. And this has to be spelled out, in my opinion. And that was just something I wanted to know, because I know a lot of advertising has gone out for it. I know that, Mr. Hodge, you've done some advertising. Who takes care of the website?
So in the recitals.
Contractor.
The contractor. So, I mean, it's on the website also, and obviously has some international World Wide Web presence. So I just wanted to know if it's going to remain named the Aztec Municipal Golf Course. I think that needed to be put into the contract.
Is that not covered in the recitals where it refers, the city presently operates the Aztec Municipal Golf Course? And the contract
Yeah.
is between,
It says it, yeah, right on the page 1.
at the very top?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, if I may, it's set out in the recitals, as you point out, that it will be operated, and it's, the whole contract is for services for the operation of the Aztec Municipal Golf Course.
Okay.
Also, Exhibit A, the scope of work that's from the RFP, specifically indicates management services for Aztec Municipal Golf Course. So,
Okay, that answers that. I understand that it's changed to reflect 20%. Or Mr. Hodge would pay 20% of, sorry, I have another question before that. In the numbers that Mr. Ray has given us for costs of the city for years 1, 2, and 3, at the end of the 3 years, of course, we know that's the end of our golf cart lease. And we've been presented with the end of the 3 years, the total of the city paying for the golf course would be $44,000. But does that address the balloon payment of $72,800 on the golf carts? Because then that number would change. Worst case scenario, Yamaha says, we don't want them. And Mr. Hodge says, I don't want them. But there is a balloon payment at the end of 3 years from now, a little more, of almost $73,000.
But if this agreement's only for the 3 years and then it may be renewed, do we have to address that in this agreement, or would that be in the next?
Well, the finances of our 3-year, don't you think, Mr. Ray?
At the end of our 3
At the end of our 3 years should be in our, because you know, spelled out that obviously the golf course rent has gone down and goes up $5,000 a year, and that the golf carts are $24,000 a year, but there is that balloon payment. That, to me, should be added into year 3.
Mayor, as discussed in the workshop, and I think reiterated by Mr. Hodge, at the end of the 3 years, it is the option of purchasing those golf carts with a balloon payment. At the end of 3 years, if we choose not to purchase those golf carts, they are returned to Yamaha without the balloon payment.
So there is no balloon payment if we return all the carts?
If we return the carts, as I stated in the workshop and Mr. Hodge said as well, and then we will have to purchase the carts after the agreement has been
At
completed.
the end of the contract.
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So
Whereas if
therefore, that's why it's not included in those.
Right. If we
Numbers.
terminate before the end of the contract agreement,
There's a balloon
then
payment.
there's, yeah, then we either pay or we're left with golf.
Because I didn't remember seeing that in the sales contract, but,
well, I think that City Manager Ray is correct, that it's a conditional sales agreement, so it's basically a lease purchase agreement. And you exercise the option to purchase by paying the balloon payment at the end of the contract. So you can pay the balloon payment and own the carts in the condition they are at that time, or we can return them and the balloon payment's not due. I think that correctly sets out the contract.
Okay. What if the carts are in really horrible condition? Not that you would do that. Would they still just say, okay, we're just taking the, is that written down?
As agreed upon in the agreement and with the Yamaha rep in documented form, at the end of that 3 years, if we do not want to buy them, then we return the cars to Yamaha in their condition.
Okay. And there was just one other question I had. So, right now, and I realize if this goes through, that our current contract with Ruby's in the Valley, or Mr. Randy Hodge, would be terminated. And that went into effect last April, I believe. And so in that contract, having the full liquor license, of course, is a plus. And in that contract, Mr. Hodge paid the city 30% of the alcohol sold, which from April through November of this year came to almost $11,000. So do we not want anything like that in this present contract?
Yes. I believe the way that it's stated in the contract now is that we're not going to be paying we're going to pay the liquor license fee, but we're going to be reimbursed that fee.
I'm talking about the actual sales and liquor.
I know that, but I'm saying that was with us paying the reimbursement was because we paid the liquor license fee, and now we will initially be paying it, but be reimbursed for that.
I
So I
understand
think
that.
that's why the revenue, since we're not paying the fee, the revenue is going to go to the contractor.
I imagine he's looking forward to that to help make the business successful
Well,
and viable.
anybody would.
Well, I know, but I'm saying we're not going to be paying the fee anymore.
So that's $1,300.
So that
And,
he's going to be, that he'll be taking, but he is going to reimburse, what, 20% of the.
It's $1,300 based
of
on
the golf cart
2016.
Were we paying the liability insurance before too?
Fees.
But he'll be paying for it now.
So
What's the
that-
question?
That amount would come off of the, if I may, Madam Mayor, that amount, $1,300 roughly, would come off of what Mr. Hodge had been paying. And again, I just drafted, I don't know what the marketing or contracting philosophy is, but my assumption was that was an incentive for the contractor to have a better chance of making a go.
And also, he would be now responsible for covering the insurance, the liability insurance, which would be an additional cost to him that we had before.
Don't you already have that, Mr. Hodge? He already has it.
But
He
we're
already
paying it,
does.
right?
No, he pays it.
Oh,
He has one as well.
okay. So we had one and he had one, but now we won't have to pay it.
We'll still have
We'll
it
still have
included in our property,
Okay.
but he'll have that
All
there.
right.
And I guess my last question would be to my fellow commissioners. I know we brought this up at the workshop and the cost of the different parks we have in town and what it costs annually, and I think it came to approximately $70,000. And I'm assuming that means all, seed, sod, But my question, my reticence, even with this, is at this point, can the city of Aztec afford another park? If we're going to put it into that, as we did at the workshop, and we put it into that thing of a public park, can we afford?
I think if we started asking that question, can we afford to keep the rest of them open?
That's a question also. In this time, with what's been happening with, obviously, money throughout the whole state. And that's where I grapple with this.
Madam Mayor? I know there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of polar opinions about the golf course. But if you talk to any economic development people, a lot of business people, I know there's business people on either side of this, but if you talk to any economic development people, where you're trying to encourage people and businesses to come to the community, it's an amenity that a lot of people look for, and a lot of people look for what there is to do in that community and what there is for their families to do, and what there is, I mean, it's a fact that when people are looking places to relocate or places to put businesses, I mean, that's just I'm just saying that that's one of the pluses of our all of our parks and our sports complexes and our libraries and everything that we have. Just a FYI.
So I do have a question, Mr. Ray. Back in August when we had our workshop on the golf course, and at that time, you shared with the commission that we had $40,000 in our budget that we could afford to spend on it this budget year. And we know that I mean, where are we with that? Can you give us that update?
In terms of overall general fund balance, or?
Because at that time, we were talking about, we were so tight. that
With guesstimated numbers.
Right.
I still believe, Mayor, that in our budgeted numbers of 80,000, that I said we wouldn't be able to maintain that 80,000 throughout the year for the golf course. I believe that the 40,000 at this time would be the max limit of what we would be able to handle.
From August to now, there's not a change in those numbers?
Well, there's going to be a change. Even now, when we're trying to figure out final distributions, and even with our December distribution being slightly greater than what we budgeted, our gross receipts tax distribution being greater than what we budgeted by a few $1,000s, with the November numbers and with October, the questions at tax and rev, I still think that's the number by which we do not want to exceed in operational dollars. And I think that's the number moving forward. That would be our designated number. I wouldn't want to see us go up to that $70-some thousand that we said for the other parks. But I think that's something that is operational for the city and that we could use moving forward.
I guess my question, though, is how much of that have we spent through at this point, from August to now? Does that make sense?
It does. I wouldn't know that without having a question in advance to pull a number for you, Mayor.
Because at that time, we were talking the 40,000 for the budget year, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And this contract would be not exactly, but closer to a calendar year.
Correct.
Other questions?
I do have a question, Madam Mayor. I remember not in this one or in the workshop, but in the original contract that was presented to Commission on November 14th in a special meeting, that I believe it was 50,000 left in the budget at that point. Kathy, am I correct? And that 50,000 that was left in the budget that we had budgeted to transfer over for the golf course would go into the operation of the golf course, which would mean, I believe, to transfer over to if and when Randy Hodge takes it over. Or have we already gone through that 50,000 at this point?
We have not gone through the 50,000, but I'm not sure I understand the first part of the question.
We had, at that workshop, when we were presented with the first contract with Ruby's in the Valley, it said, along with the other things that we have put into it, including the equipment that he gets to use and all these other things, would be the remaining balance of $50,000 out of the budgeted $80,000 that we had for this fiscal year.
That he would receive that amount?
Well, it was kind of in with the contract that would go into it. Not as a cash amount, but what we had already budgeted to go towards the golf course. What I'm saying is, if we transferred in that $80,000 at the beginning of July, correct? Or 85?
No, we transfer it only as we need it to maintain a positive cash balance. So if we don't have a need for the full 80,000,
It won't
we're
get
not going to
transferred.
move 80,000 over to the golf.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you.
That answered your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Do you want me to see if I have any more, ma'am?
Anyone else have questions?
No, ma'am.
Maybe, Madam Mayor, just a statement, I mean, in looking at the alternative item on the agenda, where it lists, net impact to end the operations of the golf course would be approximately $147,969. I mean, we don't know that, like we discussed
Right.
with the cart, possibility to return and recoup some of those costs. In weighing that against the estimate, $117,000 for the next 3 years, that's kind of what I'm looking at is, 100 and, close to 150,000 to end it. Worst case scenario versus 117 for the next 3 years to keep it open. That's
Right.
the comparison I'm mainly looking at, other than, rolling the dice and hoping that we can recoup the cost of the carts when we do send them back to Yamaha. Or if that happens, I just don't know if that's a game I want to play.
Right.
Well, plus the value to the community. We've already,
Well,
we're
that
approached
too,
by the
but-
Boys and Girls Club, the value that it was to them,
Yeah. Everything else, yeah.
to their businesses.
High school.
Dollar-wise, though, that's just,
Yeah, it's a good
that's
point.
black and white on paper.
Madam Mayor, it's hard to make a decision on this first one without discussing the Plan B also,
For the second one.
because I had some questions on the numbers on that of the closing, just as Commissioner Randall just brought up.
Mr. Thrower, would we be inappropriate to discuss the other items since they are?
No, I
already-
just was thinking, we could certainly, I'm trying to think if table is correct, or just postpone action on A until we discuss B. You
Discuss
can
B.
certainly do that.
Okay.
You need a vote to do it, I think.
A vote to do that, to
Yeah.
postpone action? Okay.
On A until,
Okay.
and then return to it after B's
You mean
discussed.
B and
So we
C?
need a motion and a vote, okay.
Right.
So I would make a motion that we postpone voting on business item B until we can discuss business item C.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, discussion of item C. Commissioners?
Hold on, let me get there. I had a question on business item C, the numbers that it would cost to close the golf course. And I was confused in some of this where it says, like the carts to February, or is it including February? Is it through February or to February? Because if not, these numbers mean 2.5 months, a little less than 2.5 months.
Josh, do you have?
I would imagine it's through February 16th, right?
That's a finance calculation. And print those numbers.
It's through the end of the lease with Hidden Valley, which is mid-February.
Okay,
February
Thank you.
16th.
Thank you.
so a month and a half of,
All right, so then I had a question on some of the closing costs. If we decided to close it, part of this was payroll, $17,500. Superintendent to part-time employee, superintendent to P/E.
Period ending.
Period ending.
Period
Pay
ending.
Period ending.
So, I thought we only had a part-time employee there, and I'm looking at $17,500 for 6 weeks, no,
If you,
2 months?
Mayor, from a workshop, the discussion, we have a full-time superintendent. We had a part-time employee in the clubhouse, but we no longer have that part-time employee in the clubhouse.
and so this would be benefits included, correct? Right, so it's total cost of
Okay.
the employee.
All right. So then another thing to take into consideration, and because these numbers aren't in stone, as Commissioner Randall just said, that there is a pretty good chance with only having the golf carts 2 years out of 5, that would get a pretty good return from Yamaha. Again, it's a gamble, just like getting into the golf course was. So the impact number coming up at 147, and it could be minus 70,000 if they take back the golf carts in a more pristine condition than they would be at the end of 5 years. So that would bring that down to, let's say, 70,000 something to close it. And I'm only guessing because we don't have those numbers. But it's something we talked about where they couldn't even give us a number until we made the decision. Right. So it's not totally 147,000 compared to 40,000. And I think maybe that was all the questions I had on that.
Okay, forgive me, where did you just pull the 40,000 from? You said it wasn't totally 147 compared to 40.
The 44 that would be at the end of the 3-year.
Okay, at the end of the third year.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Any further questions from commissioners?
I just had a question, going back to the payroll. So if we approve, an agreement tonight, what happens to that employee? Is it termination starting January 1st?
Either way, we would have to set
Right.
an out plan for when that employee's termination would be ended, because we would remove the need for that position, so it'd be an eliminated position.
Okay.
If option A were chosen, then the agreement would go into effect January 1st as put into the staff summary, and the employee's position would be terminated effectively January 1st.
Gotcha.
Then the contractor, if I may, the contractor would be responsible for all employees thereafter.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Other questions?
I've gotten all mine answered, either before or now.
Commissioner McClure, other questions?
I do. Another case scenario, I'd like to look at all the scenarios. If we go ahead and have Mr. Hodge take over the golf course, and we're still bound to the golf carts for 3 years, and the owners of the land decide to give us a 90-day out. So that too would affect what the city put in, because, that's all the way around. I know Mr. Hodge has that in this contract here, that he could give us a 90-day out and say, I don't want to operate it anymore. And then, see, the question that's not answered with that, and it's hard to do because it might be a probable, but again, I think we need to ask the question. If we decide to let Mr. Hodge take over the golf course and he decides in 6 months it's not working, and then, so I would like to discuss that in the event of that the city would still close it, pay off our debts, get out, whatever the decision is. I mean, it took a long time. It took 3 months before we even got a response or some kind of agreement from the RFP. So there's that scenario also. Either the landowners could give us 90 days out, Randy could, we're still stuck with the golf carts regardless, but we could get money back from them. But that could happen also. So if that happens, I would hate to see the city rush in and say, we've got to keep it going again, when already we've decided pretty much that that's not really a good job for the city. And therefore, the management contract that we have going. So I think we have to keep that in mind too also, and I don't know that that it has to be written in stone tonight, but that's a definite variable, and they might sell that land. Someone might come in and want a huge tax write-off. So I would want something written in, There's a couple of things I would want written in if we go for the lease with Mr. Hodge. And part of it would be that, if he exercises his 90-day out, or the golf, or put it in for commission, or the landowners exercise their 90-day out.
Right, what do you want written in though? I don't-
But we're not going to rush in and try to do this all over again without a manager.
I get what you're trying to, I get where you're trying to go, and I mean, I appreciate the fact that trying to build in that security and surety, but say it happens a year and a half in. A year and a half from now, we could have different commissioners sitting up here, and we can't bind them to that same agreement. If they decide they want to go in a different direction, do you understand what I'm saying?
I kind of do, except for that if we make a decision tonight, we're binding them in to this decision.
We can't force them to stick to it if it comes up again for a decision, that they have to go a certain way.
I see what you're saying.
Well, and either way, it's a 90-day out. If Randy gives us notice, then we've got the 90-day out with the golf
Right.
course, and if the golf course gives us 90 days, we have the 90-day out with Randy. So truly, the golf carts are the only remaining liability that we haven't discussed.
Yeah, and Madam Mayor, if I may, just from a draftsman standpoint, drafting for that kind of myriad of amorphous possibilities is a nightmare.
Right.
You have to, you would almost have to have a separate exhibit that said scenario
Every
A,
possibility,
this,
right.
scenario B, this. So from a drafting standpoint, it's really difficult to try to cover those kinds of possibilities.
Yeah, the unfortunate reality is if we go that route, then we approve the agreement, and then if something happens, we deal with it at that time. That's, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I understand what you're trying to do. I just, yeah, the logistics of trying to build in that kind of security are,
I understand.
okay. Other questions? Are there other points of clarification that any commissioners want on those closing costs for item C? No?
Madam Mayor, if I
Yes.
may.
Yes.
Now we're back to a procedural issue. We had postponed action on A to discuss,
Right.
or on B to discuss C.
Right.
And I think we could either go back to B
Right.
and deal with it first, or on vote of the commission, you could go ahead and act on
Vote on C.
C, and which would gainsay,
Right.
actually
Void
would
the
result
B.
in action on the other one,
Right.
so. But you can do either, you need to vote as to how you want to do that procedurally.
We have to vote again about how we're going to do it?
Yeah, if you're going to, not if you're going to, if you're going to return to A, or
Or
the
to
first
B,
option,
right.
whatever number that was, C, I think,
Uh-huh.
you don't.
Okay,
If you're going to go ahead and deal with this one first and then go back to the other one, you do.
okay,
Am I making any sense?
sure. To vote on voting, there we go. Okay. Last chance. Any further questions or needs for clarification? Items B and C.
No.
Okay. Okay. So that being the case, then we can go back to item B, which is standard procedure, or go ahead and vote on item C.
What was the first one, C?
First one's B.
First one's B,
First one's B,
Business item B.
yes,
Okay.
business item B.
but we're
Which is the
currently
one
on
we
C.
postponed. Well, we postponed voting on B till we discussed C. We've discussed C, everybody says they don't have any more questions, so now we're back to item B.
Going back to item B.
Yes, we're back to item B. Okay,
We don't have to vote on it. I mean, we have to vote on the motion, but not to go back to item B.
right, correct.
No, you don't need to vote to go back to item B. It was tabled with that in mind.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. If there are no further questions on item B or C, then I would entertain a motion on business item B.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to move to approve the contract with Randy Hodge, doing business as Ruby's in the Valley, to operate Aztec Municipal Golf Course.
Do we need to make an
Addition.
allowance for the changes in
Yes.
4A with the contract?
Yes, the contractual changes to include
Yes.
both golf course leases, agreements, both golf course,
I'll second that.
golf cart agreements.
Correct.
Jeez,
I will second that motion.
okay.
Is that clear as mud, Carla?
Are you clear, Carla? You're comfortable? Okay. Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Randy Hodge, DBA Rubies in the Valley, to operate Aztec Municipal Golf Course with the amendments to the contract to include both golf cart agreements. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
No.
Okay. So that being the case, Mr. Thrower, do we need to vote on item C?
I think, although it's gainsaid, I think you should.
Okay. Business item C, which is to terminate the Aztec Municipal Golf Course lease agreement. We have already discussed. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to terminate the lease agreement with Hidden Valley and to cease all operations at Aztec Municipal Golf Course.
Okay. And is there a second? I'll second it. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
To terminate, sorry. I stand corrected.
All those opposed, same sign. Nay.
Nay.
Okay. Okay. All right, then that brings us to city manager, commissioner, and attorney reports. Mr. Ray.
No report.
And I have no report other than to just wish everyone Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Looking forward to the new year. Mayor Pro Tem.
Same thing, thank you for the Employee Association for the Christmas party. It was,
Yes.
it was great, good turnout. Also, the Aztec Sparkles, I made it in from my elk hunt right in time to go to the parade, and it was awesome. So, it was really long, and a lot of participation, a lot of people when I came through town earlier in the afternoon. A lot of people downtown, so it looked like it was a good turnout, so congratulations to all those who worked so hard on that. I did go to the Northwest Mexico Seniors Meeting on Wednesday. Just still worrying about cuts to those, but I guess it's not going to affect us quite as bad as they had originally thought. The MPO, once again, the arterial is on track, which was great news. The only other thing I have is just to wish everybody a very merry and blessed Christmas. Enjoy your families. Thank you.
Sometimes I hate following you because you say everything before I get a chance.
I'm sorry.
Just kidding. The Christmas party was great. Thanks to the Employee Association for putting it on. Merry Christmas to everybody. There was no airport meeting. Sell and Safe Communities.
You would have gone if there wasn't.
I would have. And Sell and Safe Communities, there was really nothing to report. Just a standard meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Randall?
I'd just like to echo Commissioner Sipe, as everyone likes to echo her. The parade was awesome. It was stinking cold.
Oh, yeah, the parade.
But the kids, they're freezing cold, and they forget about how cold they are when the candy
Right.
starts flying.
Right.
But it was just fantastic. I mean, I love seeing the turnout from the businesses and the community. I mean, maybe it's just where I was standing, but the street was packed right at Main Street in Chaco. I'm assuming it was packed farther down, too, but it was just
The exciting thing was,
pretty.
too, this year, it was like happiness in the air. The families weren't like, usually there's like a little bickering going on or they're chasing the kids, but I mean, everybody was happy and I thought it was great.
We had bickering where we were at. But
Oh, I couldn't hear you.
No, it was good.
With you and your kids?
Yeah, exactly. Hot chocolate's too hot. It's too cold outside. Yeah, it's terrible.
Put me down, I want to walk by myself.
I'd like to say, just Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy New Year. And city looks great. Thanks for the electric department, all the departments that decorate Main Street.
The bridge
great.
looks
Looks
amazing.
pretty.
All the businesses.
Commissioner McClure?
And I'd like to, I helped out at the Aztec Library's kickoff party, the kickoff party for the Aztec Sparkles on December 9th, and Kate, obviously, Angela, Karen, and Susan. Okay, I was going to say Sue. They did a great job. That library was packed for over 2 hours. People showing up there for Santa, kids getting the free books, and I think I was most impressed with not only the fact that I went in the kitchen, which I never do, but all the snacks were healthy. It was wonderful, and a ton of kids there. I was surprised how many people showed up. Aztec Sparkles, I got a chance to go up and down the street all day and visit the people who had set up in the shops. And they were busy, and a lot of it thank goodness for the weather that day. It was absolutely just brilliant weather. So the whole thing from A to Z, Aztec Sparkles, year number 3, I thought went off really well. I would like to congratulate the Cindy Acavetta for winning first prize for the Steamers and Dreamers in the parade. That little hand thing was really great, and I thought that was great. And remember that the Aztec Senior / Community Center does need volunteers for serving Christmas Day dinner. It'll be from 11 to 1, but I'm sure volunteers are needed before. And then I visited the fire station for the second time this year. And I have to, and I know they would never complain. I mean, their brand new $500,000 truck was there. It was awesome. We got a tour around that. They showed me everything that I had no idea what it was. But their waiting area. Have you guys been in there?
In the fire department's waiting area?
Uh-huh. Like where they wait to run out and save people and stuff, you know. And I hate to say this because it might not be politically correct, but it's almost like we're treating them like the redheaded stepchild. I saw everybody sitting in there at an angle. And I thought, what was going on? Well, it's the chairs are broken. Enough to the side, and the couches, and I mean, honestly, it's kind of pitiful in there. And I know they would never complain, but just me as an outsider, looking at that room filled with volunteers, I was just like...
But I would actually expect our police chief to say something.
Not fire chief.
Yeah, maybe fire
Yeah,
chief.
sorry.
Fire
Yeah, I
chief.
don't expect Chief Hill to say anything, but I mean, I would expect that to come from the fire department, that we need...
Possibly, or maybe just from an outside person looking in, going, you know, I would get there with an upholstery cleaner and just kind of help make it more pleasant. And I do a great job regardless, and I know that, but the $500,000 fire truck, which we kind of had to get in that time period, even though the fire chief said they probably didn't need it for another 2 years, is awesome, and it's nice to know we're so well protected. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Thrower?
Well, I'm glad we have the money invested in the fire truck instead of in the couch and chairs.
This is true, this is true.
And they can always go up to the,
Priorities.
they can always go up to
They
the
can sit in the
airport and
fire
hang out in our new airport lounge,
The pilot lounge.
the pilot lounge at the airport.
I'm sure it's terribly convenient, but at least it's, yeah.
Just a reminder, my office will be closed from Friday until January the 4th, and then I'll be out of town during the holidays after Christmas Day, but I'll be back in the office on the 4th. And I reiterate the same thing, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Thank you. Okay, department reports.
Just a quick note. I don't know if some of you noticed, I know, the Chaco Bridge across the river has been closed all week. My guys have spent the last 3 days, 10 hours a day, trying to get lights on that bridge. It's been, people since the day I came at Aztec have said, hey, let's light the bridge, let's light the bridge. Well, finally, I put it in the budget, it was approved, we got the money, we've lit the bridge. So tonight, please drive by and take a look, because I think
looks
they did
awesome.
a fantastic job.
It looks great.
They're so straight.
Can you leave them up all year?
I've asked the same.
Well, I'm kind of like, it's not special if you leave it on all the time.
But leave them up all year.
Oh, yeah, definitely, no, they're up there. permanently.
Money saving bridge?
Yes,
They're not coming down.
they're not coming down, no.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay, I know we've had a long meeting, but Commissioner McClure raised it, and I would like to really thank the community for how they came out for the library on the Friday night of Aztec Sparkles. We had 3 of our board members in the kitchen or volunteering or cleaning up, and I think that's awesome. 3 of the board members just rolled up. They weren't there as dignitaries. They were there really to support the library. And not to mention the 10 Key Club Kiwanis youth who were great, as well as, earlier in the week, somebody just randomly phoned me and said, do you need anything? Right at the very moment I was needing somebody to put up a tree because I had staff off sick. I had staff off serially sick for the 2 weeks leading up to that. and members of the community just step forward. It is their library, it is the community library. I'm very much, we don't stage one big event, we serve the community every day. But the holiday party is a way that we can give back and we can thank and things. But the community ownership of the library, just in the 2 years that I've been here, I feel very good about the way the community regards the library and feels that they can step in and say, what can we do and how can we help? Commissioner McClure lies, though. Last time we had her, she spent the whole time in the kitchen too. So, you know, even though she says now, you know, she was surprised she was in the kitchen.
No, that just means generally.
And she was beautiful, and I did take some pictures that I didn't get sent to Ed to project here, but Commissioner McClure has them. But it was a really, really great event, and it was the culmination. In a few weeks' time, you'll see our year-end stats. And so far, they are working out that everything, we're up on everything, in our programming, in our attendance, in our daily attendance. Over this coming week, Friday, Saturday, and Monday, we are again going to be the only library open in the entire county. I don't know about Durango, but certainly Farmington and Bloomfield are closing for a 4-day weekend. And the community really appreciates that. I really appreciate the staff has stepped forward. Okay, we are going to be operating on skeleton staff, but the staff step forward and we shuffle them around so people do get time to be with families and things. But I think that is an important service that we're doing to the community, and our stats are showing that people appreciate it. We do have lots of exciting programs coming up in the coming year. We have a 6-month gardening workshop run by, again, volunteers from our community. San Juan County Master Gardeners are stepping up. I had a couple come in today to ask me about volunteering and programming, and we will discuss more of that when more of it is gelled. But it is very exciting the way people are stepping forward and saying, hey, this is our library. This is what we can do in it. And on a daily basis, the numbers that we're serving just from people coming in our doors speaks volumes more than one big event where you might have some people come, but a lot of people couldn't do it because of that day, whatever. That we're there open and we're consistently serving them is something I think the community appreciates. So thank you very much. We couldn't have done it without you, Commissioner McClure, and all the other people. I'm not sure that anyone else who volunteered or served that night is actually here right now, but let it be on the record that we had a lot of volunteer hours go into a lot of our events this year, so which is very rewarding. I'll total them up at the end of the year for a year review. Right now I'm putting it off till next Saturday, but thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you for the recognition for the parade. I do think I tied with someone, and I just want to be fair. I don't know, wasn't there a tie? Oh, okay, so, you know, anyway. And also to repeat what Kate had said, through the events of the season, especially this season, but throughout the year, the volunteers in this community are amazing. And just for an example, Thanksgiving, we had so many volunteers that I was creating jobs for them to do, and it was a wonderful thing, and I hope that happens again at Christmas. We add the ham, and we add extra potatoes, and so there's a lot of work to do. But one of the things that really touched me, quickly, I'll mention it, there was a senior who was living in deplorable conditions, and we were able to find him an apartment in town. But when he got here, he didn't have anything. And in just a couple of days, people from the community provided him with furniture, food, cooking utensils, bedding, beds, towels, shaving cream, everything that he needed to start over. And it was just this wonderful feeling. And it's a wonderful feeling to be a part of a community that loves one another like that. And so I just wanted to just say that my appreciation, because I do see a lot of the volunteers come to the center for different events, and so it means a lot. And also, you're all invited to the Christmas dinner if you're out and about. We have more food than you can shake a stick at, and if you're not hungry, you can come and volunteer. And if you know of anyone who needs home delivery meals that day, please call the center so that we can get them a meal. Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, too.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay. All right. Since no one else is stepping forward, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Guys, don't leave.